Do genes cause cancer? Coming right up. Hey, I'm Dr. Ekberg with Wellness for Life, and if you'd like to truly master health by understanding how the body really works, make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss anything. Ever since 1953, when they discovered DNA, they have ascribed all kinds of properties to DNA, but we need to kind of clear up a few things. Because we've been told that DNA causes this and DNA does this and so forth. But we have to understand what DNA is. So when you were first conceived, when the sperm meets the egg, you're given a certain combination of genes. And that's called your genotype. That one you can't do anything about because it is what it is. It determines a lot about you. It determines eye color and hair color and straight or curly hair, if you have long or short limbs, etc. But there's another part that is called phenotype, and this is how you express those genes. So someone who works out a lot is going to develop more muscle than someone who doesn't. So even though the genes code for muscles, you're not going to express the genes the same way if you work out versus if you don't. And the same thing holds true for just about everything that happens in the body. So a cancer doesn't just happen, it develops based on if you have a certain combination or amount of promoters and triggers and stressors. And we want to think of this as a body burden. So for example, if you smoke, if you drink, if you eat junk food, if you have nutritional deficiencies, if you're angry all the time, if you're stressed all the time, all of those things are body burdens. Those are stressors that they accumulate and they contribute to make up your total body burden. And then some people say, oh, well, it doesn't work like that. I knew somebody who smoked and drank all their life and they lived perfect health to 100. And yes, it's true, we are all different, but what the genes give us is a certain capacity to resist things, a certain capacity to adapt and compensate. So if you're born with this much ability to cope and compensate, then you can get away with a lot of stuff. Whereas if you're born with this much ability to compensate, then you can't get away with quite so much. And if you have this much of a body burden and you just do a few more bad things, then something's going to come crashing down and you'll develop something bad, like maybe a cancer or maybe a heart disease or something else. So when we talk about DNA, we want to understand that it's a blueprint. It's like a recipe book. It holds information on how to do certain things, but a recipe book doesn't cook dinner. And DNA doesn't do anything. It holds information and it's waiting for something to trigger it, to express it, to read it. So the environment is what exposes the cell to certain signals. And these signals affect certain receptors on the cell membrane that causes certain messengers to go in and start affecting the nucleus and trigger the DNA to do certain things. The DNA doesn't do them, it is being triggered to do things. The DNA doesn't make decisions or take initiative, okay? It's the environment and the circumstances, the total body burden that determines how that gene is going to be expressed. So while you can't do much about how much you're born with, you can do a lot about how much body burden you have. So if you reduce your body burden by eating better food, by getting better sleep, by meditating, reducing your stress, just improving your overall lifestyle, then you can have a lesser ability, a lesser capacity for health, and still have good health because you lessen the total body burden. So there's a lot of misunderstandings and misconceptions, and a big contributor to that is that there's a lot of people who can benefit from you not understanding, because if you buy in to the idea that genetics cause things, then your only hope is to put your faith in the hands of people who can affect genes. Pharmaceutical companies and researchers who can spend a lot of money and come up with expensive solutions. And if you buy into that, then you're a victim. Then you're in their hands. On the other hand, if you understand that cancer doesn't cause anything, but it influences things, and that you have a lot of choice in how the environment is going to influence that, then you can take charge. You have the power back in your own hands. One of my favorite examples is when they found the hangover gene. And they said, if you have this gene, then boy, are you going to have some bad hangovers. But they forgot the main point, that you still have to get drunk to get a hangover. If you don't get drunk, don't worry about having that gene. Same thing, if there's certain breast cancer genes that say, oh, you have a 25% chance of getting breast cancer with this gene, then 75% of people with that gene don't get it, because the difference is how is that gene being expressed. Another thing to understand about cancers is that they often start with a mutation, but that you have an immune system that can clean up that bad cell, that miscreated cell. And if you have a strong immune system, your body's going to do that all the time, every day. And from the time that you get that mutated cell, it usually takes 15-20 years before that cancer growth is detectable. So you have a lot of time to clean up your lifestyle and assist your body in correcting the problem. So your best bet is to start doing something about it today, now. Regardless of how old you are, the younger you are, the better it is the time to start doing something. Because the sooner you start, the less likely that something will develop. If you enjoy this kind of content, make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell, and make sure that you share this content with as many people as you can so that we can save a lot of lives and get this message out there. Thanks for watching.